Jai Shri Ram. So now we start with Canto 61. The summary: apprehending danger to the king from his inability to bear the grief caused by separation from Sri Ram, Kaushalya, though foremost among devoted wives, it was twits Dashrath. Sri Ram, who was devoted to the righteousness and was the foremost among those who bring delight to the people, having departed for the forest, Kaushalya, who was feeling distressed due to separation from her son, spoke weeping to her husband as follows. Although your great glory is extended through all the three worlds, and it is well known that you, a scion of Raghu, are full of compassion and generous, and speaking kindly to all, you never pause to think how your aforesaid two sons, Ram and Lakshman, with Sita, who have been brought up in ease, will endure suffering in the forest when faced with the hardships. O jewel among the foremost of men! Indeed, how will that young and delicate bodied princess of Mithila, who is still about 16 years of age and is deserving of comforts, bear heat and cold? How, having partaken of rich diet with delicious sauces and other seasoned articles, will the large-eyed Sita live on meals consisting of wild rice? How, having listened to the sweet strains of vocal and instrumental music, will Sita, who is richly endowed with auspicious qualities, bear to hear the unpleasant roar of lions, animals that feed on flesh? Where does the mighty armed prince Ram, who is possessed of great might and resembles the banner raised in honor of the mighty Indra on the 12th and of the bright half of Bhadrapad as a mark of festivities, repose placing his arm, stout as an iron club, under his head for support? Where shall I behold again the exquisite countenance of Ram, which possesses the hue of a lotus leaf and is decked with lovely locks, nay, whose breath emits the fragrance of a lotus and which is possessed of a lotus eye like eyes? Surely my heart is made of substance as hard as adamant. There is no doubt about it, as it is clear from the fact that it does not break through into 1,000 pieces even while I do not behold him. Indeed, it was a cruel act on your part that, expelled by you, my near and dear ones, who were deserving of comforts, knock about in a wretched condition in the forest, leaving the city. Even if Ram, a scion of Raghu, returns to Ayodhya in the 15th year, it is not expected that Bharat will relinquish the sovereignty and the exchequer. It is well known fact that some householders feed their own relations on the occasion of Shraddh, a ceremony in honor and for the benefit of dead relatives on their death, anniversary, and other times, and their object in the shape of making special gifts in their favor having been accomplished, attend to the foremost of other Brahmans invited for the Shraddh afterwards. Of them, such Brahmans as are men of character, learned and godlike, do not accept afterwards even food which is delicious as ambrosia, even though it may be Brahmanas that have finished their meals in the first instance. Great Brahmans who are highly enlightened would not consent to partake of what is left after others have finished their meal any more than bulls of excellent breed would brook the severance of their horns. Then, why then will Ram, who is the eldest and most deserving brother, not likewise disdain a kinship already enjoyed by a younger brother, O ruler of the people? A tiger would not partake of the food brought by another. Even so, Ram, a tiger among men, would not set his heart on that which has been enjoyed by another. The wise do not use for a second time in sacrifice the following already used in another sacrifice: sacrificial food, ghee, purodasa, that is a mass of ground rice rounded into a kind of cake, usually divided into pieces placed on receptacles and offered as an oblation in the fire, blades of kusha grass, and sacrificial posts of khadira wood. Even so, Ram too will not be able to accept this sovereignty already enjoyed by Bharat, any more than one would set one's heart on wine deprived of its essence, on the remnants of the beverage called som, which is drunk during sacrificial performances. Rama will not suffer such indignity any more than a mighty tiger would brook the twisting of its tail. All the worlds combined against him would not be able to cause terror into him, even in a major conflict. He, however, did not wrest the throne of Ayodhya, even though capable of doing so, because his mind being intent on righteousness, he is vowed to lead even unrighteous people towards righteousness by setting a noble example. That mighty armed prince, possessed as he is of extraordinary might, can, if he so wills, even dry up the oceans with his shafts with gilded feathers, even as the god of destruction dissolves the element at the time of universal dissolution. That dwell among men, who is so powerful as indicated above, nay, who possesses the strength of a lion and has eyes big as those of a bull, has been ruined by his father, even as the brood of a fish is devoured by the fish itself. A son who is deeply devoted to righteousness, having been exiled by you, it is problematic whether the path of virtue discovered by the ancient sages and followed by the twice born really exists in your eyes. The main support of a woman is her husband, the second is her son, the third is her kindred. There is no fourth support at all, O king. Of the aforementioned three supports, you, my husband, are surely not support for me, and as inasmuch as you are under the thumb of my co-wife. While Ram has been sent away to the forest, I do not wish to proceed to the forest, since I cannot live apart from you. In this way, alas, I have been utterly destroyed by you. This kingdom of Koshala, along with other neighboring kingdoms, has been ruined by you. Nay, we all, your people, along with the counselors, have been destroyed by you. I stand doomed with my son Ram. The citizens too have been ruined. Only your son Bharat and wife Kaikeyi feel greatly delighted. Distressed to hear the condemnation of himself by Kaushalya, couched in harsh words, the emperor fell into a swoon, crying, O Ram! He then got plunged in grief and also vividly recalled once more his past misdeeds responsible for his present calamity. Thus ends Canto 61 in the Ayodhya Kand of the glorious Ramayana of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Now we come to Canto 62. The summary of the canto. When reproached in harsh words by Kaushalya, though already feeling disconsolate through separation from his sons and daughter-in-law, Dashrath falls into a swoon, recalling his past sin in the form of killing a hermit boy, which was responsible for his present misfortune. On waking from his swoon, he tries with folded hands to conciliate Kaushalya, and on the latter, reciprocating his sentiments, the emperor is lulled into a nap. Told harsh words as aforesaid by the angry Kaushalya, who was full of grief, the king for his part felt distressed and fell a brooding. Nay, having reflected a while, the aforesaid monarch found his senses confused due to a spell of unconsciousness, and it was after a long time that the emperor regained consciousness. Again, heaving a doleful sigh immediately on regaining consciousness, he relapsed into brooding on seeing Kaushalya by his side. Even as he reflected the sinful deed that had been unwittingly perpetrated by him in the past while hitting a mark with the help of sound alone flashed on his mind. The mighty emperor felt disconcerted through remorse caused by the thought of that sinful deed, as well as through grief born of separation from Sri Ram, and was tormented with dual grief. Folding his hands in order to propitiate Kaushalya, the king, who was being consumed by the twofold grief, and was feeling afflicted thereby, spoke trembling to Kaushalya as follows, his face hanging downward. I seek your favor, O Kaushalya. Here is my supplication to you with folded hands. In fact, you are ever full of affection, even to your enemies, and tender-hearted. The husband, for his part, be he full of virtues or even lacking in them, is indeed a visible deity to ladies knowing what is right, O godly lady. Though afflicted, you who are not only conversant with the principles of righteousness or even kind, but also ever devoted to righteousness and have seen both good and evil fortune in the world, ought not to have told me the unpalatable things, greatly afflicted as I am. Hearing that piteous appeal uttered by the wretched king, Kaushalya shed tears even as a drain allows rain water to flow through it. Interlocking on her own head, the king's palms joined in the form of a lotus, Kaushalya, who felt dismayed with the thought of having wronged her husband, spoke weeping in hurried tones through confusion as follows. Be gracious to me, I entreat you with bowed head, and lie prostrate at your feet, since I have been entreated by you, my superior, which is matter for shame to me. I am ruined in any case. I do not deserve to be pardoned by you and court punishment at your hands for the wrong done to me by you, done by me to you. Surely she is not a woman of noble descent, who is earnestly propitiated by her wise husband, who is praiseworthy for her in both worlds. I know my duty towards you, O knower of what is right, and also know you to be veracious. Something unseemingly was, however, uttered by me, stricken as I was with grief, caused in separation from my son. Grief eradicates patience. Grief effaces learning. Grief destroys all. There is no enemy like grief. A blow that has descended from the hands of an enemy can be sustained. Grief, however, that has appeared all of a sudden cannot be endured even though it is very minute. The period of 5 nights that has elapsed since Ram left for sojourning in the forest is reckoned as equal in length to 5 years at this moment by me, whose joy has been marred by grief. Even as I think of Ram, this grief born of separation from him, abiding in my breast, grows in intensity in the same way as the water of an ocean swells with the rapid inflow of rivers. While Kaushalya was speaking conciliatory words as aforesaid, the sun's rays became faint and the night prevailed. Cheered by Queen Kaushalya in so many words and overpowered by grief, the king forthwith fell into the grip of slumber. Thus ends Canto 62 in the Ayodhya Kand of the glorious Ramayana of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Jai Shri Ram.